2023, and I'm calling the regular meeting of the Belle Plaine City Council into session. It should be noted that those in attendance are Councilperson Peck, Councilperson Schlesselman, Councilperson Morrow, Councilperson Landit, Councilperson Malcolm, City Administrator Steve Beck, City Attorney Jennifer Zarodnik, and maybe Mayor Fish by phone or online, I don't know. City Clerk Sandy Walton. I would like to remind all in attendance, including the council and staff, to please shut off your cell phones or put them on the mute mode. Now we'll rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Just note, I am going to leave my line just in case.
With your excuse.
Mine's out.
Okay. We need to consider the consent agenda, the council minutes of February 1st, 2023, and bills received. Is there any discussion? If not, I need a motion.
I move to approve the consent agenda, council minutes of February 1st, and bills received.
Second.
I'll second it.
Any other further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, same. Looks like there's not residents for comments tonight. So I'll skip on to the public hearing concerning the city maximum property tax dollars for affected levy totals concerning the fiscal year 24 Belle Plaine city budget. Is there any discussion among the council? Any questions?
I would just like to mention, we may be going through this all over again because there is currently a bill in the state house, I believe. Senate has already passed it, which would change the valuations. And we'll be going through this whole process all over again. But the recommendation from the state at this time is do what you would normally do right up until they give us different instructions, and I have not yet received different instructions, so.
How long ago was that passed?
The Senate was passed, I'm gonna say either early last week or the tail end of the week before. And I believe it was debated in the House today. I have not heard if it. They were saying they were likely to pass it, but just about every state, not off the top of my head, just about every town in Iowa has logged their, you know, it's not that it's changing the valuation, which bites, but that would have happened anyway if they'd have done it correctly the first time. What's bad about it is it's so late in our process that, you know, almost every city will have to start over and redo. But, so I'm hoping that maybe we get some kind of answer between now and when I have to send stuff in. I have about a week in there that I don't have to send it for publication this next time. It can be published 2 weeks from now. So I have a week that I can wait and see. So if that happens, instead of publishing the budget for approval, I can, you know, start the process over. And we're hoping that they'll give us a little more time. Otherwise it'll be, you know, special meetings trying to get it all in.
Anything else from anybody else on the council? I think I'm gonna close the public hearing on this issue and move on to discussing possible approval of resolution 230204, approving the maximum tax dollars from certain levies for the city's proposed fiscal year 2023-2024 budget.
I'll make a motion to approve 230204 resolution approving maximum tax dollars for certain levies for the city proposal fiscal year 23-24 budget.
Second.
I'll second.
Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
We need to
Oh,
call
by
these
roll-
out one
roll
at a
call.
Oh,
time.
that's right. I had it circled too.
Yeah.
That's all right.
It's a roll call vote. Okay. Lyle,
Aye.
Judy,
Aye.
Mitch,
Aye.
Garrett,
Aye.
me, aye. Great. Passes 5-0. Moving on to number 7, we need a motion to set the public hearing for the 2023-2024 budget for March 15th, 2023 in the Belle Plaine City Council Chambers at 1207 8th Avenue, Belle Plaine, Iowa at 6:30 PM at the regular Belle Plaine City Council meeting.
I move to approve the public hearing for the 2023 budget for March 15th in the council chambers at 6:30 PM.
Need a second?
I'll second. I'll second.
Bless you.
All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 5-0. Moving on to number 8, another public hearing. This one is concerning the proposed adoption of ordinances granting to Interstate Power and Light Company, Alliant Energy, a 25-year non-exclusive electric and 25-year non-exclusive electric and natural gas franchises and imposing a 3% franchise fee. So we'll open the public hearing on that issue. Is there any discussion from the council? Any questions?
Did we have to do 3, is there 3 readings on that after we go through it? Right. Okay.
If there's nothing from anybody in the room, we'll close the public hearing on that. And move on to number 9. Discuss for possible approval the first reading of ordinance 2301 and an ordinance repealing chapter 111 and granting to Interstate Power and Light Company a non-exclusive electric franchise for the city of Belle Plaine, Iowa, and imposing a 3% franchise fee. Any discussion on this one?
So they're separate between one's electric and one's gas, right? Okay.
We'll do the gas one next.
I make a motion to approve the first reading of ordinance 2301, an ordinance repealing chapter 111, granting Interstate Power and Light Company a non-exclusive electric franchise for the city of Belle Plaine, imposing a 3% franchise fee.
Need a second?
I'll second.
Any further discussion? Favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Hi, Dave.
Later, we're just trying to put lotion up in the house here.
Not a problem. We'll talk to you later.
Okay, thank you.
Bye-bye.
I was gonna be wise guy. I said, I got criticized for being 5 minutes late. But I'll give him a pass.
Sorry, where were we?
It passes 5-0. Moving on to number 10, discuss for possible approval the first reading of ordinance 2302, an ordinance repealing chapter 111 and granting to Interstate Power and Light Company a non-exclusive natural gas franchise for the city of Belle Plaine, Iowa, and imposing a 3% franchise fee.
I believe that's a paper. Should it be the same chapter for both of them?
I think it's 110, isn't it?
110 is not. Sorry about that.
Okay. Any discussion among the council? Need a motion?
I'll move to approve the first reading of ordinance 2302, repealing chapter 110 and granting Interstate Power and Light Company a non-exclusive natural gas franchise for the city of Belle Plaine, Iowa, and imposing a 3% franchise fee.
Need a second?
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve this ordinance. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 5-0. Number 11, discuss whether to approve an extension of our current garbage recycling contract with Republic Services or send it out for bid.
I think, you and I are gonna say the same thing, I bet. I really don't think we're doing any harm by putting this out to bid. I think that we owe everybody, I remember last time we put it out to bid, we didn't take the lowest bid, we took the bid that we were most comfortable with on the company we thought would do well. I know that have good back on Republic Services, but I think we should see what other companies are out there and what they're offering.
I agree.
I think we've got to watch what the bids are.
We need to be fiscally responsible, I believe, and we need to answer to our constituents. So
And I think if Republic is really serious about wanting to keep our business, then they'll give us the same offer that they have, or if they know they have to be a little bit more competitive, so be it. I mean, that's what the whole process is for.
I do have one question regarding to that. The mayor has stated, if you go to Fairway in Vinton, just keep the tax dollars in Benton County. So let's say we have a company that is in Benton County that we approve. Does that benefit Belle Plaine in the long run, giving us more tax dollars back?
It would potentially, because most likely, well, the one I can think of, already does a number of garbage collections here in town, and so they're spending money here in town, and they're servicing our businesses and those types of things.
Okay.
So
He just said spend your money in Benton County. So if we do the same thing, if the mayor's recommending we spend our money in Benton County, I think we should, if that were to happen, take that into consideration also.
and that's what you guys usually do when it comes to, purchasing vehicles. You look at the local dealers first, and then you look at the Benton County
Yeah.
dealers, and we do that at landfill too.
Mhm.
And I think last time there was kind of some circumstances that really caused us not to go that route. So, but I agree. I think we should open that up and
It
see.
should be one of the factors.
Yep.
Okay, I was just curious.
Just information. One of the bills that is being presented at the state, I don't know if it's what stage it's at, but they're looking to potentially eliminate lost, which is why you try and buy in county,
Mhm.
and just impose a flat 7% sales tax across the board. And supposedly they would divvy that out. So I don't know if it will pass or not pass, but it is something that's out there.
Yeah, because they're always so good at divvying up the money.
Yeah.
Somewhere else.
Well, we talked about it.
Rural
They'll
counties,
start. We'll
rural
get our-
counties always win on that
We'll
one.
get a percent the first year, and then it'll be 9/10, and then it'll be.
I think that's why it's wise to do the franchise fee, because we can keep that.
That's right.
And Sandy, can you share a little bit about the interest in by other companies? And
Oh, yeah, so what I say, just 6, I think I've had 6 other haulers call.
And that's much different because I think last time we had 3.
Yeah, and I mean, whether they'll all submit a bid or not, but
Mhm.
they have called and expressed interest. And actually, I know this is later in the meeting, but if you notice, one of the things at your packet was actually a hauler at the very back that sent correspondence that said, give us a chance. So
Mhm.
These are 5-year increments for contracts, correct?
that's what
Yeah.
we've done in the past.
Okay.
They don't have to be, but
So if I prepare the bid similar to what we sent out 5 years ago, I'll try and make sure that we implement the RFP. Right, the RFP, I'm sorry. Like we did 5 years ago, try and make sure that we implement some of the things that we like about what we get now.
Mhm.
Do you guys want to see that RFP before it goes out?
I would like to.
I know
Yeah.
you have to.
So we kind of remember it, yeah.
Okay, I will try and pull it together. I mean, if that's what you guys decide to do.
I guess the other thing to keep in mind is when we're putting this RFP together, the bigger the container, the more your tonnage fee at the landfill goes up. So, I know that that's been a question that's happened in a couple of the other towns. Shellsburg's the one that comes to mind that we've had problems with the landfill. They went from like 30-gallon containers to 96-gallon containers, and they couldn't understand why their tonnage fee at the landfill went up.
That's almost,
Putting 3 times as much stuff.
how can you even get that?
I was
up
gonna
the
say
curb?
that'd be a sucker to pull to the curb.
Curb.
Well, I mean, a 96-gallon containers, that's kind of that's what's currently in town now.
Is that what we have?
Yeah,
I didn't know.
is
how
a
much,
96, but they
Oh,
went
wow.
from, a small container to that,
Right.
and they just really struggled with that. And so, you've got the different options for sizes. Containers, it would not go any bigger than what we currently have.
I can do a
Make
not
them
to
larger.
exceed. I can do a not to exceed.
They do make them larger than 96. Wow.
I think what we
Like,
had was
throw
plenty
a kid in
large.
there.
I wouldn't want to deal with that on my driveway.
And most people don't, and like the 96
Well,
seems
if
to be
it's
like the max I've seen.
If it's
And I think
3
like
bags.
some of them is like 67, and I think that's the next size down. And I've seen a couple of towns in Benton County that they have a smaller garbage one and a bigger recycling one. So they have like a
Ours?
65, or
Yeah,
65.
ours are.
Ours are that way.
Yeah, just a little bit
Yeah, there's
smaller, yeah.
sections,
I
yeah.
think it's.
And maybe your garbage is the 65 and
Yes.
the recycling's the 96.
I think
don't
that's,
remember.
I
That
think
might
that's,
be, but,
I think that's what it
you know,
is.
I
yeah.
would say if
Yeah.
that's what we've got currently, that's probably what we want to see on the
Yeah.
RFP, because we don't want to see that tonnage go up over at the
Right.
landfill. And the town looks pretty good with what we've been doing.
I'd probably do a motion.
I make a motion to put the garbage service out for bid.
Need a second?
I'll second.
Do we want to make that garbage recycling?
Yeah.
I mean, that's what we understand it to be, but to be specific.
No, it's
Sorry.
fine. No, don't be. As my old teacher, you corrected me a lot.
It's been moved and seconded to put our current garbage recycling contract out for bid. Is there any further discussion on that? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Yeah, I did.
Sandy, if you want a list of the currently approved haulers in Benton County for delivery to landfill, call Eric, give it to you. That way you can send an RFP to all of them,
You know how many there are?
15, I think.
Really?
I think that are approved. Not all of them have cities, but they're approved haulers for rural collection routes and those types of things.
Can someone bid other than is currently on the approved list?
What do they have to do to get on the approved list then?
Fill out a hauler application with the city or with the landfill, pay the $50 or $100 permit.
All right, that passes 5-0. Chief Hudson, police report.
Before we go, I'm sorry, just have a second. So I will create the RFP and bring it to the next meeting. And then if you all approve it, I'll send it out after that meeting.
Perfect.
Great.
Thank you.
Just like school.
I have too many former students at this table.
I probably don't want to get those bids back relatively quick if we're gonna have a July 1st switch over.
Yeah.
Somebody may need time to work cards.
That's fine.
I'll send it to you before.
Thank you. How you doing, chief?
Good. That's what I'm passing around is just our January call count for you to look at. If you haven't heard, we've lost Officer Taronis. He took a job with the Decorah Police Department, so we have his position advertised right now on Indeed.
It's cold up there.
So we'll take applications for, I don't know, a month. We'll see what we get. Received word from Carl Chevrolet, our new Tahoe is not going to be built till July. For whatever reason, they got pushed back. It was supposed to be in the spring, so now we're looking at a July build. So just keep that in mind. We did 3 building inspections today. If not we, Mike Tomash did. I did administrative search warrants for the properties. We did 104 11th Street, Robert Ogden property, 909 9th Avenue, Bob Lewis's property, and forget the number, but it's the old Ma's Kitchen building down Main Street. We got that. We got into that today as well. So you'll have some reports to look at. So you might get those finished and sent out to us. None of them were occupied, obviously. The 2 houses are vacant for a little while. Snow emergencies, they've been going pretty good the first 24 hours, but that second 24 hours gets a lot of people ticketed. So my guys are going to do things a little differently when it comes to the enforcement of that second 24 hours. But if we don't need the emergency that second day, we need to make sure we try to cancel it. That way we don't have any confusion and people getting tickets on their vehicles on a street that's been, cleared curb to curb. So that's what I got for you tonight.
What, in the last snow emergency, because I think we went over 24 hours on that one and we really didn't have any snow.
We didn't do anything with that.
Okay,
Yeah.
That was the one last Thursday.
yeah.
Yeah. One before that, we had several tickets the second time around, and I got a lot of phone calls. Why did my vehicle get a ticket? Streets were clear, and that's been ongoing since we developed that ordinance. But I can kind of see their point, but at the same time, they really shouldn't assume that it's done. But we're trying to do something different to alleviate that. So.
Chris, can we also kind of watch the sidewalks too?
Yeah,
I've had a few citizens come just within the last couple of weeks.
Jay, do you remember how many sidewalks did you guys have to clear off that list?
The first one, there's probably at least 20, 25 on there, I bet.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was guessing, about 25. So, okay. Some of them, I mean, I may have missed a few of them, but a lot of them start off as just a complaint. And if you do one, you have to do one. Other than that, that's what I got for you.
Any questions?
Thank you, Chris.
But
Okay, number 13, VPCDC report.
Hello, everybody. I think everybody knows me. Brian Baumgartner. I'm the current president of Belle Plaine Community Development. I'm here to report on 4 subjects. First one is July 3rd. It's progressing, like Judy mentioned to you guys a month ago. And the one thing we have tried to do is we did get out in social media is looking for volunteers and to help with the July 3rd and set up like a July 3rd committee like we've done with Holiday Homecoming. we've not had a good response on that, and we'll keep trying. We just would hope the community out there would respond to it. There's people that spoke up last year on July 3rd and 4th that they weren't happy. And, we heard that. We actually reached out to some of those people. And but as a whole, just hopefully some people can help the board and the director get done the July 3rd this year. Second thing is the director position. You were informed that that's open. We're progressing, and I really hope, and I'm pretty encouraged that I think we'll have somebody in place within this next month to report to you next month. The third thing is that's kind of open-ended, or has been a little bit, is the biocells. And I know you guys got a lot on your agenda tonight, and I actually wanted to save it for the fourth subject. But the biocells, I believe Mayor Fish a couple of months ago, I think you guys discussed it here, something that maybe a couple of council members get appointed to work with community development, et cetera, to see where we go with the biocells. 2 years ago, I got on this board, and right away, I think community development, the board at that time, and I just got on it, expressed a concern about the upkeep of them down there and the looks. And so I spoke up as a member of the new board, being a new member to get involved with them. And Kay Palmer came along right at the same time. And I think she did a nice job. And the ultimate goal is to get them a uniform look somewhat, maintain them. And I just think there's, we need to work together, the community development, the council on behalf of the city, to improve this subject. And I'm here to say that our board wants to work and get a plan, continue the plan that Kay set forth and adjust accordingly, whatever. But we're talking like a couple of years. I mean, one, to maintain and two, there's probably more stuff that needs to be planted. Obviously, we'll see what comes up after some transplants and some plants last year. So to sum it up, hopefully somebody can work with us, and because the spring's coming soon. So I think we're going to need to do some stuff this spring because it's already February 15th. The last thing is, actually I didn't know here, the biocells too is because the goal is we got to get volunteers from the city, the community to help with it, and that's kind of happened in the past, but hopefully the new director with the community development board can, keep it organized and keep, get a plan set and keep it going forward for the better of our look of our downtown. Which kind of leads into the fourth and last subject. So I'm going to pass out an email that we got from Michael Wagler. He's the head of Main Street, Iowa, and Carol Lilly. So a couple of board members a few weeks ago had a discussion with Michael and Carol about us going forward, meaning the community development going forward being a part of Main Street Iowa's program. Now, with that said, the board totally recognizes that community development started, in coexistence with Main Street, Iowa. Am I right on that? I mean, as far, or was, okay.
No,
Community development was first.
so we had an economic development group. It became community development when we made the application to be a Great Places, and then from there we became Main Street Iowa Community. And we adjusted the bylaws accordingly once we became a Main Street Iowa community to meet the requirements that Main Street Iowa had. But we've always had an economic development that happened. And then Main Street Iowa didn't happen until 2008. Because we were inducted in March of 2008 into Main Street Iowa.
Okay. Which I think I've heard that year come up. And that's what I came
I know it
as a
is,
business
because
owner too.
I
so-
know it is because Sam was 3 weeks old and she turned 15 today,
Okay.
so I know exactly.
So anyways, I bring this to you, some news tonight as far as this discussion and this, and you can read this email. Now, I'm going to read the one paragraph, it's the third one. But, you know, you guys are, the city council, the city is partners, you know, dollar wise, investor in our group. And, of course, there's some pretty good other investors in it too. So, you know, that's the reason we report to you too, as I assume is because of the investment that you guys make every year that the city of Belle Plaine makes. And it's not taken lightly. With respect to people that got this started, because it is a great program, I guess I'll use the term ran its course, or saying, because that's kind of the feeling for Main Street, Iowa. And it's kind of the feeling I got the last couple of years from previous board members too, and some maybe right at the beginning also. So I'm going to read this. It said, the third paragraph said, based on recent conversations we've had communicated to board leadership that Belle Plaine can have the ability to be more impactful and successful with its community development efforts by leaving Main Street, Iowa partnership, strengthening local community-wide community development capacity and investing in its human and financial resources into local projects and efforts rather than continuing working to meet expectations of Main Street, Iowa partnership. So to sum it up, there's been back and forth on the different requirements, not necessarily the reporting. There's not necessarily a wage, but it's, the hour commitment, meaning you got to have a director 40 hours, et cetera. You got to, so then you got to find a director that you can pay that will fulfill those 40 hours. So there's a touchy thing there. And then this goes into 2024, Iowa's going to become Main Street America, I guess, if I understand it. And they have hinted, and that's why they've asked us probably to sever ties, is that, there's going to be other requirements, and that maybe, we've already ran the course with them. The great thing about today, and don't take this lightly, because I've seen some towns that have quit Main Street, Iowa, and their so-called chamber community development has kind of went to the wayside, is there's so much more sources today that they have, the state of Iowa has, to work with, like our director and our board. And that's listed. That's the last part of this email, all these different things that we can attend to continue to be very viable. So our board, I kind of know where this is headed as far as the vote, but yeah, we're open to, comments from you guys now or here in the next few weeks. But I do think, it's, it's probably ran its course. And what we need to do is come up with a plan with you guys, with the city, the investors, to not let this, deteriorate, is a harsh word, meaning the community development, but to, really keep some of this, like they say on, I think, the fourth paragraph, there's, we've had the experiences, we know how to keep this, how to run a good functioning government body like the community development. And, I think we need to get organized and do a pledge to the city, to the community, that, hey, this is what we'll do. And that's what our next step is, besides deciding 100% if we're going to sever ties with Main Street, Iowa. So,
One of the things that I'd like to point out, and as a council member, I know that I don't like to come in and be handed something to read right before we discuss it. So this is just for informational purposes for everybody to take home and look at. But one of the things right before the mentioning of all the resources that would still be available to us, Michael Wagler has said that most of these tools and resources were not available 10 to 15 years ago. So that means that when we first got into Iowa, these resources were not available to all of the communities that we would have available to us now. So as you can see, there's just a ton of stuff that we have at our fingertips if we need to, without being a Main Street, Iowa community.
So was this originally designed for smaller communities? Was there a platform, or could Cedar Rapids and Iowa City be Main Street.
I
Iowa.
cannot answer that because I don't know. how.
Everybody could apply, you had to be accepted, you had to meet certain requirements.
Mhm.
Part of the thing that made it nice is that they had these programs that they put on quarterly, and they expected the board and the director to attend. And I don't know if the board is still attending any of those. When I got off the board 10+ years ago, the board members were not actively attending those. It was only our director, and I think that was part of the problem and the downfall. But there was a lot of services, all the design work that went into the downtown that we didn't have to pay for because we were part of Main Street, Iowa. That was huge. The marketing and the surveying and stuff they've been able to offer over the years to us. The accountability of, are you documenting what you're doing? Do you have a viable plan to pass it on for this event to go next year? Hey, are you doing what you're supposed to? Who's looking at this every day and every month and saying, are you really trying to attract people to your downtown or not? Or to your community. And so the Main Street Iowa program had a lot of accountability, which was nice. And they had a lot of services that were free to us as a Main Street Iowa community, as long as we met those requirements.
Yeah.
And
I-
and finding volunteers has always been the struggle,
Mhm.
because it's always the same, 15 people that are doing everything, and everybody else wants to complain about what's going on, but nobody wants to pitch in and help. I mean, the year Sam turned 2, we had the Civil War days, and we had a street dance that year. I couldn't even get the board members to show up to take money at the gate. I had Sam downtown till 11:30 that night, and I had her back down there the next morning at the park at 5 a.m. to cook breakfast for the Civil War reenactors. So, it's not a new thing that we're struggling to find people and get things done, because Sam, like I said, turned 15 today, and I got off the board when she was 2 because I was having to drag her to everything because we couldn't get anybody else to volunteer. And now I remember reading all the posts on Facebook about July 3rd, and that's been a great, adding taking over the car show and doing those things has been great. And everybody likes to see it happen, but nobody wants to do the work to make it happen, But I guess, from being one of the original people that did all the work to get into Main Street, Iowa, I hate to see it disappear. And I would want to see, before decisions were made, what services are they still providing to us that these other things would not cover?
Oh, the difference.
So what is Main Street, Iowa still giving their communities that these other things in this are not covering? Because, those Main Street grants that when you take your volunteer down for the Main Street Iowa Awards program, some of those grants were only available for.
Right, and it's only one now. Sorry to interrupt.
Challenge grant.
Yeah, and things have really changed.
Right.
Like Judy said, compared to 10 years ago.
But
when it
I would
started.
still want to know, for everybody to have that informed decision, what services is Main Street, Iowa providing that we can't get from this list of other places that we have?
Okay.
I'd like to touch on one thing with volunteers. I know that it had been brought to a group about the car show, and this group could run it, but it was going to be ran our way, and that's not how you get volunteers. If a group of volunteers steps forward to do something, don't say, you're going to do it our way. Let that group of volunteers do it their way, and you just support them.
At our last board meeting, it was stressed that we would love to have a 3rd of July committee, and it'll be their baby,
Mhm.
working with the board, because we've had the experience. It wouldn't be necessarily our way or the highway. It would be a joint effort.
I know it wasn't portrayed like that in previous years, though.
Yeah, so, that's the July 3rd and the volunteers that I get what you're saying. You want the difference, basically what it was back then to what it is today, what we are gonna miss out on, which I'm pretty sure it's pretty minimal. It is pretty minimal, from my understanding. That's why he said that he thinks we utilized it very well, in our time currently, but yeah, we'll have to look into that, to get exactly what the difference is. But like Judy said, I mean,
Because like,
I actually went to
the
two of
state,
these.
if the state was closing down Main Street, Iowa and saying, hey, we're gonna be going to this new program, I would say, okay, but they're still putting money into the Main Street Iowa program, so there's still some kind of benefit coming from it, that it's a beneficial program, and I would wanna know, you know, what benefits could Belle Plaine
Right.
still have, rather, you know, that we're gonna lose when we get out of Main Street Iowa.
Well, here's the other
Because
thing.
it wasn't easy to get into Main Street Iowa.
Oh, no, and I
We worked on it
respect
a
that.
long time and made 2 separate applications for it.
Yeah, I respect that, and I'm gonna name drop, I told myself I wasn't gonna do it, but Hampton discontinued in April, and Central City did this fall, and they, you know, and I guess quite a few others did too, and Mitch, you brought up about the size of community. It sounds like Main Street America is more geared possibly to larger communities, because the requirement of, you know, a full-time director of 40 hours,
Yep.
that's a sticking point. You
Yep.
know, we all know, I know personally from my business how wages have went up. So you know, that's just one example of the changes that are gonna happen here soon. We fulfilled, I mean, we go to those quarterlies. We didn't do a good job like this last year because we didn't have a director for most of the time, but I went to 2 of the quarterlies, and somebody else went to 1, and then we missed October. And man, there's so much information there. It's incredible.
It's hard to go to those and then come back and try and implement anything, because it's like, oh, information overload.
It is, but I'm encouraged that there's a lot of stuff there for us compared to before. But, okay, well, we'll come back and soon, and I don't know, there's no rush in this, obviously, but it's like, because there isn't.
And I
But
think
we'll get it
the-
outlined better.
The big difference can be made also if you have a director, depending on the personality of that director and the ability of attracting volunteers. And so I would not make a quick decision. I would try to get a new director in. And then I think Jennifer's idea is good, and then see where that goes. So unless they're holding our feet to the fire and saying, you guys have to make a decision by now, I mean, I wouldn't make a hasty decision on that.
Right, and remember, you know, volunteers has come up a couple of times, including I brought it up at the very beginning. This, you know, in a way, I mean, we're gonna function, my goal would be almost 100% the same. So the volunteers is a side issue. It's that, you know, but we need to pledge to our investors, which you're a big one, that it's like, you know, here's our structure going forward. We have to do what's called an accreditation report to be accredited for the next year. And it is detailed. I mean, I helped put it together, or all of us did. It was a great team effort. And that's what we're going to have to do, something like that going forward, to a public, you know, meeting, literally, you know, here's what we did this year. If we're not Main Street, Iowa, you know, to be held responsible and accountable, you know, and because I don't want to see this go, you know, like dissolved to not to be an effective group, you know, 5 years down the road, because it could happen. Could happen, no question about it. That's one of the negatives about disconnecting with Main Street, Iowa.
When does the current membership in Main Street, Iowa elapse? Or when
We
would you
just,
have to renew?
it's yearly, and I mean, it's not much of a fee, so we actually could discontinue it any time. Am I right? I don't think, we
I'm
just
not
talked
sure.
about it.
I'm not
I
sure.
don't think
Casey
it's,
might know.
you pay to go to these meetings by the time you do that, and but the yearly fee's not much. I want to say, I thought we just talked about it's $250, but I'd have to look at our minutes. So, yeah, we wouldn't be losing out on like a $3,000 or $4,000 fee. I'm very, very sure.
Well, I just thought, I was thinking of it more as if you're being pushed to make a decision because there's an impending renewal.
Oh, no, that's not the reason. And I need to be clear too. This isn't like pushed. I mean, they're not pushing it like immediately, you know, like, hey, you know, like there's a deadline. No, it's,
How many times?
they kind of
has the
surprised
state
us
run
and we're
that?
open about it
There's
when
quite
we're
a
talking.
few. I mean, and it's a good support network for your director when you have one,
Right.
to reach out to those other.
Yeah.
Does your board make that decision, or does the council make the decision to leave Main Street, Iowa? Or Main, yeah.
I think
Well, we had to have support of the city, and we have to have ongoing support of the city in order to continue in Main Street, Iowa.
Uh-huh.
So I don't know what the requirements for leaving are because that wasn't my goal when I was part of community development.
I don't know if they are either.
So I don't know.
And because we just did the accreditation, one of the requirements is to have so-called city backing funding.
Which we
And it's a
Paid
pretty good,
that money last month.
Mhm.
and that's a Main Street requirement, but going forward, yeah, there wouldn't be like a requirement. You know, that's where the city has to, on behalf of the community, decide too, whether they keep supporting community development if we dissolve our membership with Main Street, Iowa. Don't know what else to say.
Well, the
But
only-
besides,
the only
we
other
need
thing
to
that
bring
we
it your
could-
attention tonight.
The only other thing that we could just throw out for general information is that there are 11 communities that have left Main Street, Iowa this year,
Mhm.
or recently. So we're not the only one out there that's taking a second look.
Because nobody ever used to leave.
Well,
Yeah.
it's kind of, I don't want to speak out of turn here. It almost feels like they're trying to break up with us.
I was just going to say that honestly, it probably
the
feels
barrier,
like,
because it's like you have to do it every year, like the barriers to entry are going to go up every year
That's
for this,
what I-
with this accountability with the Main Street America. And, you know, they're really rigid about, you have to have a Main Street grant program, and we wanted to have a citywide grant program for all businesses. That was incongruent with Main Street, Iowa's Main Street approach. So just those little things, kind of things they don't particularly like. They're not against it, but it's like
Well, and one of
we're
the
Main
struggles
Street.
I know that we've had for years was every time we didn't have a director, they got after us for it, every time.
Yeah, they did.
There's,
They have.
But
There's-
I'll tell you, we haven't had many applications in the 3 times we've had the job.
one of the issues
And
is
that's a concern, and we think that's a wage thing too.
benefits and those types of
Exactly.
things.
You know, the other thing is, what are they gonna be the requirements for this Main Street America? What are they gonna offer? Is it an advantage to be a Main Street Iowa community to kind of just slide into Main Street America that could be good or not? So,
things always get better when you include the federal program. That was sarcasm if no one got that.
But I was just saying, you know, back to
Back
back to the size of communities, you know, I renamed the one, and it's like, I think that towns, well, I know it's a county seat, I lived there for 2 years, I think it's around 4,500 people. You know, for them to, you know, decide that, you know, it's ran its course, I found interesting when they informed us of that town, so,
Which town is that? I'm
Hampton.
sorry. Okay.
so. And then on the smaller town, or population would be a Central City, was brought up, so.
Well, and I'm sure any town our size or even a little bit bigger will struggle when the requirements get to be as much as they are.
But, and then Jennifer, so, you know, laid out exactly, you know, what her fears would be when starting this. But I think you're gonna be surprised that there's only one grant that you have to be Main Street, Iowa, which the administrator said, the challenge grant. Otherwise, you know, you gotta emphasize that there's a ton of sources compared to 10 years ago. And that one community, I was thinking I got out of it, you know, it's really dissolved, you know, like their so-called community development group. And it's like, yeah, well, they didn't have the sources back then to keep training their director. Well, there's sources out there.
And it might be more dignified approach. I'm not trying to push anybody toward it, to say this has ran its course and not be just removed or kicked out because you can't reach it.
So,
Or they've got too many towns and they can't manage.
Yeah,
it. And it's like,
that's right.
Might as well get a certain demographic where we can manage well, and everybody else will take the requirements to where they aren't gonna meet it, and we know they aren't gonna meet it. But
you know, and
Could be
I
an-
know when we got in it, it was geared towards communities, small communities to preserve and maintain.
that's
that
kind of what I
small
would
town
think that would
Feel.
want to do.
And so I don't know how this Main Street America that's gonna be geared towards the bigger cities is gonna accomplish the things that we've done through the Main Street program, so.
It reminds me of the conversations I've had all the time with the SBA and everybody else for what they consider small business that we fight all the time for my company is it never means that because everybody's always much bigger and the really small companies never get equal share. So it's just one of those things. But I think you're right. It would be nice to see what are we going to lose by leaving. I think that would be an important thing for us to really kind of understand.
When we did the the Catalyst grant for, which originally was going to be the House of Pies, Benton Development Group was just pivotal in that. And we were off cycle to even apply for the Main Street Iowa Challenge grant, which I believe used to be $100,000. And now it's down to $75,000. So the Catalyst grant, which we're always going to be eligible for, to my knowledge, is $100,000, along with those other ones. And we have a pretty good relationship with the IEDA, and Kate with Benton Development has a fantastic relationship with them. So I think we need to take that into account too, as Benton Development really is a driving force in a lot of that stuff too.
All right.
Well, we'll take a look at this and
Yep.
we can talk about it further.
Yep, okay, thank you.
Thanks for coming in.
Brian.
Thank
Yep.
you.
Page 2. Number 14, discuss for possible approval renewal of the Class B retail alcohol license with Sunday sales for Dolgen Corp. LLC, Dollar General, at 405 13th Street, Belle Plaine, Iowa.
You're supposed to ask the chief if there's any problems
I
there.
was just thinking he's sitting here. No problems.
It's in Chief's neighborhood too.
Any thoughts on this?
I make a motion to approve renewal of Class B retail alcohol license for Sunday sales for Dollar General.
Second? Anybody?
I'll second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded for renewing the Class B retail alcohol license for Dolgen Corp. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Nobody's opposed. Passes 5-0. Number 15, discuss for possible approval a reduction in the utility bill at 1616 8th Avenue because of frozen pipes and a toilet leak, both of which have been fixed. $284.16. Any thoughts?
Well, we've done it before, and it's certainly understandable why there could be frozen pipes.
Yep.
Need a motion?
I make a motion to approve the utility bill at 1616 8th Avenue.
Second.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the reduction in the utility bill at 1616 8th Avenue. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Passes 5-0. Number 16, discuss for possible approval, resolution 23-02-03, a resolution to revise resolution 22-1102, which approves usage of ARPA funds for relocation of 2 emergency sirens. I think Steve's probably the guru.
Yes, so the 2 new sirens were only operational manually because they couldn't communicate with county on that frequency for whatever reason. So we had to wait for 2 additional tone decoders to come in so that they could talk. So all of our, since we have 2 different brands, we actually have 3 different brands. We have 2 different, we have the Waylands, and then we have the other existing ones that we had. So that drove up the cost a little bit. And then we had to work together even after those came in to get the other existing ones operational because they were having it was cold weather and they were sticking, and we're going to have a little bit of maintenance to do on those. But even at this price, they're 3 times less than a brand new single one. These are, I don't know how much louder they are, but you can hear them very well all over town. So just those 2 alone, we kind of have a contingency. So those 2 alone will warn everybody in town.
So I think the issue here is we had a little budget overrun of $640.
Those additional parts and labor, yes.
Yeah.
But it still came under what we were originally told.
Yeah, several, I think it was
Right.
18,000 or something.
Right.
And the council approved last November 15,000 on this, so.
Right.
We just need that.
I just had a little trouble hitting my budget. $600, 640.
They tried to deliver.
Yeah,
They
yeah, you
tried to
got-
deliver one of those to my house. Remember, I had to call you.
I don't want
That's not going where the school was, is it? That's what I already got one.
We want to make sure you get.
Yeah. I thought,
We want to make sure you. see internet.
you bet. No sleeping on 9th Avenue.
Any further thoughts on this? If not, I need a motion.
The last 2.
I move to approve resolution 230203, revising resolution 221102, approving use of ARPA funds for relocation of 2 emergency sirens.
How about a second?
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve resolution 230203. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Passes 5-0. Number 17, approve the appointment of Teresa Hermson to the tree board to replace exiting member Vicky Schwab, term to expire January 2026.
I'll make a motion to appoint Teresa Hermison to the tree board.
Need a second?
I'll second.
It's been approved and seconded to appoint Teresa Hermson to the tree board. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Passes 5-0.
I think Vicky Schwab for the years that she served on that board, quite a long time.
In the last couple of years with the tree planting program, she's
Lot
been
of
a
work.
lot of work.
Yeah, she was the one that could kind of keep things moving, get things moving and keep things moving. So any idea what you want to do for that?
We can get her a plaque. Probably wouldn't want to be appropriate.
Yeah,
Well, I would think about that. Give her a bush.
she'd probably know what she wanted.
I'm sure she would.
Number 18, we've got the city treasurer's report, the city budget report, and the solar report. Sandy, anything that specific to point out?
Not specific on any of those items in particular, other than, this week I've, purchased a few CDs on behalf of the community center. They didn't have an immediate use for a lot of their lost funds, so we're gonna throw it in a CD, short-term CDs and gain them a little bit of interest. So those were purchased this week. Otherwise, still struggling in the same couple of areas we've been having a tough time with garbage fund and airport looks very out of whack. It's only a timing issue because they didn't receive had to pay a bill that I didn't receive funds for until the carryover of the month, so that will straighten out. That it will look entirely different next month.
Any questions from the council? If not, I'm gonna move on because this meeting is gonna be long. Committee of the whole, the drones discussion was postponed till next meeting since the agenda was getting so long. We just decided to move it forward, and I think everybody will appreciate being able to take more time. City administrators report.
Okay, yesterday we had, an initial conference with FEMA, with the federal judge and their federal attorney. Leon helped with that. We went over some points of interest, and then we all agreed on setting a hearing date. Originally, that we were shooting for a March hearing date, but the federal attorney was not going to be available. She was going to be out of the country, so now it's set for May 2nd. I called Grassley's office to give Sherry an update because Senator Grassley has specific interest in this. And she called me back, and we've talked about a few things. She encouraged me to fill out Federal Register. That's going to be part of the public record when it comes to improving the road safety projects. So I finished that up today, and I specifically focused on the MUTCD, which is the federal standard, which did not allow us to replace our traffic signals. So I kind of gave a short history of what happened and talked to them, or illustrated how, we had the full traffic signal, and then after the derecho, we couldn't replace it because of this MUTCD, because we didn't have the traffic flows. And we've had a struggle ever since. So I'm interested to hear how that comes back. I submitted another round of documents for the generator at the well field. Just continuing to work on that at the state level now. We had a complaint from a citizen that they lodged a complaint with the Iowa Utility Board. The Iowa Utilities Board reached out to me and talked to me about that, and we went over the complaint. And the Iowa Utilities Board doesn't really cover municipal water supplies, so they encouraged me to reach out to the citizen, and I did. And the citizen indicated that they were going to seek the next step, which would be to talk to the state ombuds office. So I was in contact with them, so I understand what that process is like. So
What's the nature of the complaint?
this is dating back to 2013, 2014, when there was a neighborhood that had frozen water, private water services.
Okay.
So I talked with a gentleman up at Des Moines and said that I encouraged the citizen to come in and talk with me about what possible solutions we could have, and see what the next steps are. So I want to jump back to the FEMA federal. I didn't elaborate on that very well. We have taken 2 projects as far as we can. We're now in arbitration, and that's at the federal level. So federal judges will be looking that over on May 2nd.
And that's bridges and roads.
Yep, there's 2 separate projects. One's roads, one's bridges. I contacted the site inspector that was here, and and asked him if he'd be willing to provide any testimony, and he said he would, pending FEMA's approval of him talking about it. So I asked their attorney if they had very many cases coming in from Iowa, and she said she didn't recall ever seeing one ever in her career. So we'll just see how it goes. Leon's gonna do his best. I'm gonna do my best to try to get the funding to fix 21st Street and a couple of other areas that were really slammed by they weren't damaged by the derecho, but they were damaged by the cleanup process after the derecho. So I'm seeking the funding to repair those back to the pre-disaster condition.
Anything else?
That's taken up quite a bit of my time. There's a lot of little stuff, but if anybody has any questions, just get a hold of me.
Mayor's report, I have no idea of any meetings or anything, so
Landfill meetings tomorrow night.
tomorrow night. Okay. Correspondence, hopefully everybody's already seen that pertains to the garbage and recycling. Old business, none. Resident comments, I don't think we have any. So we'll move on to 25. Consideration of a motion to enter into closed session under Iowa Code 21.51C to discuss strategy with counsel in matters that are presently in litigation or where litigation is imminent, where disclosure would likely be likely to prejudice or disadvantage the position of the government body in that litigation.
I move to go into closed session.
I'll second it.
Okay, we do a roll call on it.
Yeah.
All right.
See you guys. See you.
You cut them in.